Thank you, Mr Assistant President. I rise to take note of the answer given by the Minister for Agriculture about the money for biosecurity in the budget, which once again continues the pattern that we've seen where this government's crowing about doing the very bare minimum of their job. Doing the very bare minimum in the face of numbers of invasive species expanding exponentially across the state, and they want to crow about the bare minimum. Things like the Weeds Action Plan, which is not new money, it's year-on-year funding that predates this minister and the minister before and the minister before, that barely meets the targets, barely doesn't meet the needs that it is intended to do. We heard mention of support in the NRC report, which of course within that report pans the very programs that this minister is funding with this short-term pig control, for instance. We also, in the budget, talks about funding for the Conservation Hunting Authority, which we know was in part of the legislation that wasn't even and has not yet been passed in this House, yet this government has already set aside funding for that authority. This is at a time when we see neglect from many other things going on in biosecurity. Cattle ticks are proving a real problem in northern New South Wales at the moment, and we're seeing staff dedicated to those programs working on other programs, dealing with the red fire ants that should have had their own specified control programs. And of course, varroamide is wreaking havoc, and AFB causing major problems throughout the bee industry in the absence of enough compliance and compliance officers, is forcing more and more good beekeepers out of the business. Again, we're just skiting about doing the bare minimum. And of course, in a debate where we heard things of comity from the Honourable Mark Latham, we also had the comedy from the Minister for Agriculture talking about being the best friend of the farmers have ever had. This is at a time when I can tell you firsthand that the industry bodies, farmers themselves at Apartment, even Labor's own people out in places like Dubbo, are absolutely despair at their relationships with the Labor Party. The relationships that people like Mick Veitch has spent years cultivating have all been eroded in a very short time.
The time for the debate.